over £1.5 billion spent, and Chelsea still needs to go to extra time to beat Wrexham. I know that Chelsea won, but this is one of those wins that just doesn't quite feel like a win. It feels more like a loss. You got Chelsea on the road, FA Cup, playing Wrexham, and we knew that Wrexham were going to be up for this match. Ryan Reynolds was hyped up, and it's Chelsea going down a goal. It's championship football. It's a long ball. Tosin and Badiashile, they get beat. Sanchez doesn't come out, and what's wrong with this defense? Why is Chelsea lowering themselves down to playing like a championship level team? You got Wrexham then go up again in this match, and it's the same story. There's no defense with this team. Chelsea just shoot themselves in the foot, and I know what some of you are thinking. Hey, look, it's the B team. Liam Rosigne, he's got to rotate players, right? They got PSG coming up in the Champions League. There's no way you could start the strongest team. The biggest issue here is that there is a huge drop-off. I'm talking about it falls off down a cliff when you go from the Chelsea starting 11 to whatever it is that we saw today. Because Chelsea, yes, they look good when they got their best players out there, but then when they're playing in these FA Cup matches, and I know that it's not the biggest competition anymore, but why is the drop-off so damn bad? Why is it that this team and this club who has spent over £1 billion, adding youngsters, adding all this depth that you'd think that this team would have, this is one of the most expensive squads that has been assembled, and then they play a team like Wrexham, a team that they should be able to dominate this match, but no. Instead, they go to extra time. They need VAR to come to the rescue. They need Wrexham to go down to 10 men, and it's Joao Pedro who has to come on and score a goal. And what is up with Liam Delap? This was one of the signings that everyone was expecting, that Liam Delap was gonna contribute to this team in scoring goals, and we've seen the exact opposite. Chelsea should not be struggling against a championship team, and yes, I know that Wrexham are sixth in the championship. That they're not the worst team in the championship, and yes, they've gone up, but this is still a Chelsea team that is way more expensive, has way better quality players, and to look so bad against a Wrexham side that, sure, this is their Cinderella story, right? This is Hollywood FC, and for Chelsea to scrape by this win, to fall down twice to this team is just it's an embarrassing for how bad things are. And sure, they won this match, but if we're looking back, Chelsea have not won a domestic cup in a long time. And I know that a lot of people are saying, look, it's the FA Cup, right? Like, who cares, right? Like, Chelsea want to win the Premier League. They want to win the Champions League. But look, in case you haven't noticed, so far it doesn't look like that's happening anytime soon. Because Chelsea in the Premier League, they're not in the mix of it to win. It definitely doesn't look like it. I don't see Chelsea win the Premier League. In the Champions League, I don't know. I don't think they're going to win it, but look, we've seen Chelsea go on runs for sure where yes, there were seasons where it looked like they weren't going to win, and then they pull a rabbit out of a hat, and yes, they won it that way. But that was when Abramovich was the club owner, so I'm not ready to give Blue Coat that kind of credit and say that, yeah, Chelsea could still turn things around. But what is it that Chelsea were really just resting players for PSG? Is that where we are now, where we could say that, sure, we're just going to punt the FA Cup, who cares? We got Chelsea, we got PSG coming up, and yeah, let's just bench our best team, let's just put out this B team, but the B team shouldn't be this bad. We should not be the team that Chelsea sets out there to play in Wrexham should not be so bad that they fall behind twice in a game and you need to bring on the starters. Because look, if you're thinking about what the plan was for this match, the plan was to not go to overtime, to be able to beat this Wrexham team comfortably, but instead an extra half hour had to happen and we needed VAR to save us. Look, if you're looking at Delap, Tosin and Badiashile, not up for this match. I don't know what else to say with Delap. Every time he comes on, I don't have that kind of confidence that I've had with other strikers on Chelsea's team. It definitely hasn't been a season. And look, hopefully he could turn things around. But so far, it's just the drop off in these matches. It's frustrating as a Chelsea fan because we're used to seeing Chelsea be able to win these matches and then not look so embarrassingly. But it's just not good enough so far. Let's take a look at some of the comments, though. Tussin couldn't win a header against Tyrion Lannister. All this game told us is that Chelsea can't rotate. And that's very true. Sure, I know that Liam Senior is under a lot of pressure. I know that Blue Co is telling him, look, you got to rotate players. We bought all these young guys. You got to find a way to get them some minutes. But this isn't it. And it can't just be, look, Liam Senior can't rotate. It's a lack of being able to put a good squad together where you don't feel confident in putting out these young players, and then you get these inconsistent results, and that's exactly what happened. And then the next comment, at least we ruined their documentary. Look, I know that we know Ryan Reynolds is doing a documentary for Wrexham. You know, they're hyping this up, and this is probably their biggest, I mean, this was their biggest match of the season, right? For Chelsea, it wasn't, but for Wrexham, it was, and yes, we did ruin their documentary. This is how it ends. But still, they're over here celebrating, they're here celebrating giving Chelsea a tough match, sending them to overtime. And we're talking about a Chelsea team that has spent over £1 billion on this project. All this money being spent, constantly being told to wait, trust the Todd Boehly talking about an interview how, you know, you gotta trust the process. Sometimes you just gotta wait it out to see what the actual result is. And look, some of us Chelsea fans, we're tired of winning. We want to see this team dominate and not look like a championship team when they play a championship team. Here's another comment. I have watched Morata, Werner, Torres, and I can tell you I've never seen anything like Delap. Look, Chelsea have had a lot of strikers. We've had strikers that have been inconsistent. We've had a lot of players, you know, come and go. Some of them have been better than others, but just Delap so far, he just isn't it. Here's another one. Look at the way co-owner of Wrexham, Ryan Reynolds, is watching the Chelsea game. The tension is too much. He needs his woman to hold him tight. His biggest game since he took over. Look, I mean, if anybody won today, it's Ryan Reynolds. You know, he's on camera often during this match. Chelsea's coming, and instead of Wrexham getting embarrassed like they should have, when you got a big Premier League team spending billions of pounds on this club, they should have been dominated, battered. Chelsea should have run rampant, but instead, it's a tight game. It goes to the end. Chelsea have to make a comeback, have to go to extra time just to be a team like Wrexham that's sixth in the championship, that's probably not going to get promoted. And for Wrexham, this is a win. But look, Chelsea then got to play PSG. That's going to be a tough match. They pretty much put all their eggs on that basket, and they've kind of said, look, FA Cup, we don't care, put the B team, but against PSG, they got to step up. What did you guys think of this match, though? Did you guys think that Chelsea put up a good fight? Do you think that Liam Senior got the rotations right? Do you think that they're going to beat PSG? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe.